ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय। जयतां सुरतौर्पंगो मम मंदमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्बोजौ राधा मदन मोहनौ दिव्याद्वृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमदौ श्रीमद्रत्नागार सिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद् राधाशीला गोविंद देवौ प्रेष्ठालिभि सेव्यमानौ स्मरामि। श्रीमन् रासरसारंभी वंशी वटतटस्थितः कर्षन् वेणुस्वनैर्गोपी गोपीनाथस्त्रियस्तु नः। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय। नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। गुरवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। आनंदलीलामय विग्रहाय हेमावदिव्य छवि सुंदराय तस्मै महाप्रेम रसप्रदाय श्री चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। नित्यानंदमहं नौमि सर्वानंदकरं परं हरिनाम प्रदं देवम अवधूत शिरोमणि। श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय। श्री नित्यानंद राम की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री शिवरात्रि महा उत्सव की जय। हरे कृष्णा। Thank you all for very kindly joining in our reading of the Krishna book. For those devotees who are in India, probably celebrated Shiva Ratri yesterday. And in Vrindavan, it is celebrated today, which is the 19th in India, in our Krishna Balaram Mandir. And if you are there in the US, then Shivaratri is tonight. So wherever we are joining from, my heartfelt best wishes on the occasion of Shivaratri. This is a very, very important festival. Even though we are worshippers of Krishna, Lord Shiva holds a very prominent position, even in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. We find even Krishna worships Lord Shiva so much, and we discussed this in the previous class as to how he worships Rudra. But even in the Bhagavatam, we find he goes to Ambikavan. In the 10th canto, we find, after the Gopi Geet section, to celebrate the festival of Shivaratri, Krishna himself takes Nanda Maharaj and all the Brajavasis to Ambikavan to celebrate this festival of Shivaratri. So we never belittle Lord Shiva just because we are worshippers of Krishna. Advaita Acharya, when he comes down, he is a combined incarnation of Vishnu and Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, very, very glorious personality. And Shivaratri is that day. Of course, not getting into the details because we have discussed this in the past. But primarily Shivaratri is that day when Lord Shiva gets married to Parvati. In fact, when Sri Ram was in exile, when Maryada Purushottam Sri Ramchandra was in exile, and the 14-year exile was given to him. So 13 years, everything was perfectly fine. No impediment, no problems at all. But everything unfolded in the last year, in the 14th year. That's when Ravana came. That's when the kidnapping happened. That's when all the battle happened. First 13 years, everything was picture perfect. But in the last 1 year, everything changed. So when Sri Ram, Lakshman and Sita were in exile, at that time when Ravana came in disguise, he came in the form of a sadhu, in the form of a sannyasi. And Maya Sita, she was so sincere that she went inside and she gave some alms to the sadhu. But this sadhu was actually Ravana, a demon in the disguise of sadhu. And normally, no one doubts a sannyasi. It's the highest order. It's the highest ashram. So no one doubts. People respect. Naturally, we see whenever we see a sannyasi, we offer obeisances. So it's the highest ashram. So no one doubts. But Ravana took advantage of that. And Maya Sita gets kidnapped. And when all this kidnapping happens, at that time, Lord Shiva and Sati, they come to the place where Sri Ram and Lakshman are there. And Sri Ram is crying in Viraha Mahotsav. He's crying. In fact, being separated from devotees is the biggest loss. In the Raya Ramananda Samvad, we find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking Ramananda Rai, Dukha madhya do kona dukha hai guru tara. My dear Ramananda Rai, Dukha madhya kona dukha. Of all the sufferings, kona dukha, which is that suffering which is the highest? Dukha madhya kona dukha hai guru tara. And Ramananda Rai replies by saying, Krishna bhakta viraha vina dukha nahi dekhi para. My dear Lord, separation from the devotees of the Lord, this is the most painful. Remaining everything, my dear Lord, can be managed. But when devotees leave our surrounding, when they leave our life, for whatever reason, then my dear Lord, that's the most painful. That's the most difficult. Dukha madhye kona dukha hai guru tara. Krishna bhakta viraha vina dukha nahi dekhi para. My dear Lord, this suffering I cannot see. And Sita Maya is also in the Lord's concert. So Sri Ram was crying in tears. Now in the scene, when this scene was going on, when Shivji, Bholenath and Sati were standing, Lord Shiva offered his obeisances because his master was there. But Sati was perplexed. Sati was thinking, he is Bhagavan and he is crying. He is saying in the Gita that you should not have any attachments. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, one who is spiritually inclined, will always be blissful, always be satisfied. And he is crying. He in the Gita is saying that one should not be attached for the living, one should be attached for the dead. But here he is crying for his own wife. Practice before you preach. He is preaching, but he's not practicing. So Sati had questions. Sati was thinking, he is the master of my husband. And my husband is offering obeisances, but he is crying for his own wife. He's so asakt. He's attached. He's attached to his own wife. But Shivji doesn't say anything, but Sati has doubts. So Sati decides to test Sri Ram. Now this is height. She decides to test the master of her husband. So she goes in front of Sri Ram disguised as Maya Sita. And she goes as Maya Sita and says, my dear husband, my dear Ram, look, I'm back. I didn't go anywhere. I'm there in front of you. I'm back. And Sri Ram sees and Sri Ram looks to the side. So she again comes from the side and says, my dear husband, my dear Rams, look, I'm here. Sri Ram again looks to that side. And every time she tries to say something to convince Sri Ram that she is actually Sita, Sri Ram, he's not convinced. How can you trick him? How can you fool him? Of the cheats, he's the greatest gambler. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, of the cheats, I'm the greatest gambler. How can you trick him? How can you fool him? Impossible. पूरे दुनिया को, पूरे जगत को टोपी पहना सकते हैं, भगवान को कैसे टोपी पहनाएंगे? How can you fool? How can you trick him? But now Sri Ram understands that actually this is Sati. So Sri Ram decides to play a trick with her. She decides to play a trick with Ram, and now Ram is playing a trick with her. And as Sati is sitting there watching the form of Sri Ram, she sees the Lord switch forms. she sees that, oh, he's crying in separation from Maya Sita. And then immediately she sees that he is united with Maya Sita. And then again she sees that he is separated and crying. And again she sees that they are united. Sambhog Vipralamba, Sambhog Vipralamba, Sambhog Vipralamba. What is the another pastime where this happened? Ramananda Rai and Mahaprabhu. पहला देखिला तुम्हार सन्यासी स्वरूप एबे तुम्हें देखे मोय श्याम गोपर रूप. Ramananda Rai tells Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, पहला देखिला तुम्हार सन्यासी स्वरूप. My dear Gauranga Mahaprabhu, first time when I saw you, you were in sannyasi swarup. But now, ebe tuma dekhe moy Shama Goparup. Now you are like Sham Goparup. You are in the form of Krishna. First you are becoming sannyasi, then you are becoming Sham Sundar, then again Gaur Sundar, then Shama Sundar, Gaur Sundar, Sham Sundar. So now Sri Ram was doing the same thing. Sambhog Vipralamba, Sambhog Vipralamba, Sambhog Vipralamba. And Sita Maya was confused. What is going on? Sati was confused. What is going on? She realized that he is indeed Bhagavan, but he is playing a Naravat Leela. He is playing human-like pastimes. If he wants, he can get Maya Sita this way, but he is playing Naravat, human-like pastimes, and that is why he is in this mood. Shri Ram and Sita have very sweet, wonderful exchanges. One time, we will come back to the story. But because we are speaking about Sita and Ram, Ramayana is very, very glorious. Pastimes of Sri Ram are very, very purifying. One time, Sita Devi was in Man. Man means sulking anger. Like you have Radharani has sulking anger. So Sita Maya was in Man. So she wasn't talking to Sri Ram. So now Sri Ram was trying everything to make sure that there is some conversation. But there was some grahastha fight between both of them. They were not talking apparently with each other. So Sri Ram decided that he will do something so that he gets Sita on his side. So Sri Ram would wear a ring. So he put that ring in one side of the room. And on purpose, he was searching in another side of the room. So when Sita saw this, Sita thought, his ring is here and he's searching there. How will he get the ring? He will not get the ring. The ring is here and he's searching there. So she took the ring and she went and she said, my dear Ram, here is your ring. And when she gave the ring to Sri Ram, in that instance, her heart melted and they again came back. So the anger that was there, the Man Leela was there. Sri Ram made sure that they again come back together in the form of the ring. So when Hanuman goes to Ashokvatika and he gives the ring, we see in Ramayana, Sri Ram had given the ring to Hanuman and told him that you please give this to Maya Sita. And this is my token of gratitude. Tell her, convince her that I am coming. But in the meantime, she can hold on to this. So when Hanuman gives this, at that time, Sita Maya narrates this story to Hanuman that, my dear Hanuman, thank you for this ring. And because you're so dear to Ram, let me tell you something in connection with this ring. And then she tells this story that how this ring had united both of them. So she tells Hanuman, please go and tell your Ram that his Sita is remembering this pastime of uniting. So with this ring that now you have given me, I am hopeful that that day will again rise in my life when I can reunite with my most worshipful Sri Ramachandra. So here we find Sati doubted the power potency of that Sri Ram. Sri Rama Rama Raghunandana Rama Rama Sri Rama Rama Bharatagraja Rama Rama Sri Rama Rama Ranakarkasha Rama Rama Sri Rama Rama Sharanam Bhava Rama Rama. It is worthy to glorify Sri Ram on Mahashivratri. Why? Because Shiva's Ishtadev is Sri Ram. When we go to somebody's birthday, do we give them what we like or do we give them what they like? We give them what they like. Likewise, for Shivaratri, we have to give Lord Shiva what he likes. And in his tongue, always that he chants is Ram, 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 Ram. So the more we discuss about Sri Ram and Maya Sita, the more we are pleasing Bhole Baba, more we are pleasing Shivji. Shri Rama Rama Raghunandana Rama Rama Shri Rama Rama Ranakarkasha Rama Rama, Shri Rama Rama Bharatagraja Rama Rama, Shri Rama Rama Sharanam Bhava Rama Rama, Shri Rama Chandra Charanau Manasa Smarami, Shri Rama Chandra Charanau Vachasa Granami, Shri Rama Chandra Charanau Shirasa Namami, Shri Rama Chandra Sharanam Sharanam Prapadye. Ram Raksha Stotra very beautifully explains. Shri Rama Rama Raghunandana Rama Rama. Who is he? He is Raghunandan. Shri Rama Rama Bharatagraja Rama Rama. He is Bharatagraja, brother of Bharat. Shri Rama Rama Ranakarkasha Rama Rama. And how is Shri Ram in the battle? Ranakarkasha. He is very valiant. He doesn't get scared. But श्री राम जब रणभूमि में उतरता है भगवान मानो दहाड़ते हैं. He is roaring like a lion. He doesn't fear anyone. He doesn't fear anyone. To that Shri Ram, I offer my obeisances. Shri Ramachandra Charanau Manasa Smarami. May my mind always be absorbed at the lotus feet of Prabhu Shri Ram. May my mouth always talk about the pastimes of Shri Ram. May my head offer obeisances to Shri Ram. I don't know anyone apart from Shri Ram's lotus feet. The Ram Raksha Sutra is very beautiful. Many nice verses glorifying Prabhu Shri Ram. So Lord Shiva, his Ishta, his worshipable Aradatam is Shri Ram. So the more we speak about Shri Ram, he is happy. So Sita Devi, who was testing, and finally she realized that he is Bhagavan. Sati tested, and then she realized that he is Bhagavan. There is no point in being in this disguise of Maya Sita. So, ashamed and embarrassed, she goes back to Lord Shiva. So, Lord Shiva sees her and says, what happened? You went to test Lord Sri Ram. What happened? Were you successful? And what will Sati say? So, she tried to change the topic. Sometimes you see, when you have no comeback, when you're cornered, you try to change the topic. So she tried to change the topic, and Lord Shiva said, no. What happened? You went there. What happened? And Sati was so embarrassed. She was so embarrassed. She said, please forgive me. I did not realize that he is Bhagavan, and I went to test him. Please forgive me. But when Lord Shiva heard this, he was so offended that his Lord was tested by his own wife. That Sati did not believe the supremacy of Sri Ram, and his own wife tested Sri Ram. So he left that place. He was so offended that Shivaji, Bhole Baba, he left that place. I don't want to be in a place where my own wife is doubting Sri Ram. He's doubting Sri Ram. Now, Sati did a few mistakes here. First, when Bhole Baba initially told Sati that he is Bhagavan, he is the Supreme Lord, she doubted the words of a devotee. Not having firm conviction in the words of a devotee. She doubted the words of Shivaji, who was a great devotee. She tested the Supreme Lord. This is aparad. This is when the Lord is already in viraha. At that time, rather than to console the Supreme Lord, she added more fuel to that burning fire. And now how can Shivaji be in that place when his worshipable Lord is offended? Shivaji teaches by example that even if it is one's own family members, if they're critical to our bhakti, they're critical to devotees, they're critical about the Supreme Lord, it is time we leave that place. One should not mingle too much around those who are Vaishnava Paradis or who are offenders to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or to Sri Krishna or to the lotus feet of Sri Ram. Vaishnavera gunagrahi na dekhaye dosh, kaya mana vakya kare Vaishnava santosh. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Vaishnavera gunagrahi na dekhaye dosh. One shouldn't find faults in devotees. It is our vision because of which we feel they have faults. They don't have faults. We have faults, and that we are superimposing on them. When we wear red glasses, we see the whole world is red. Doesn't mean the world is red. We are wearing red glasses. Likewise, because we have aparad in our heart is infested so much with Vaishnava aparad, we superimpose that on others and say, hey, he is like this Mataji is like that, this Prabhuji is like that. But not necessarily they are like that. It is our dirt in our heart that we are superimposing on others. Now, look at Sati. She tested and doubted the words of Shivaji, who is a devotee, doubted the words of her husband, and most importantly, she tested the Supreme Lord at a time when he himself was in viraha. He was in tears. He was in separation. Shivaji left that place. And now Sati thought to herself, what is the use? My own husband has left me. What is the use of this body? I have offended Sri Ram. I have offended my own husband. I have tested the Supreme Lord. What is the use of this body? This brings us to the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the Daksha sacrifice. Who is Daksha? He is the father-in-law of Lord Shiva. Daksha's son is Sati, and Sati gets married to Shivaji. So, Daksha is the father-in-law, or in other words, Shiva is the son-in-law. Now, Sati thinks to herself, what is the use of this body? Better let me give up this body. Because with this body, I've offended my husband. I've offended Sri Ram. What is the use of this body? So in the pretext of the Daksha fire sacrifice, she comes down and she orchestrates a pastime where apparently she demonstrates that she's offended. Because in that sacrifice, Shivaji is not invited. Everyone is invited, but the father-in-law doesn't invite the son-in-law. And Lord Shiva is not offended. Many times if we are not invited for a program or something, we may get offended. Arey sabko bula hai, mujhe nahi bula. But Shivaji, who is the best devotee, he is not invited for a program. Home program, satsang. He is not invited and it doesn't matter for him. Teaching by example. It doesn't matter for him. Shastra is replete with all these examples. Everything that goes on in our life, we will find in Shastra. Shivaji was not invited for the home program, for that sacrifice. Housewarming ceremony. Arey sabko bola hai, Prabhuji, mujhe nahi bola hai. It happens with all of us. Everyone was invited. I was not invited. But here we find Shiva was not invited. So Sati, when she comes down, she orchestrates a pastime apparently to show that she is very angry that her husband is not invited for the fire sacrifice. And in the fire of distress that her husband was not invited, that fire culminated in the form of external fire and it consumed her life. This is bahya. This is external. Iha bahya. The internal reason is she gave up her life because she offended Sri Ram. She tested Sri Ram and she doubted the words of her husband. So she gave up her life. And in the next life, she comes back as the son of the Himalayan mountains, the daughter of the Himalayan mountains, daughter of Parvat. Parvat's daughter is Parvati. She comes back, Sati comes back as Parvati. And now she does intense tapasya, intense bhajan to again get back Lord Shiva in her life. And now when she does tapasya, her father is so pleased and so inspired that he goes to Bholenath, Bhole Baba, and he begs that you please accept my daughter. And the day when Shivaji gets married to Parvati is none other than Shiva Ratri. Shiva Ratri is the night of, it's the wedding anniversary basically, of Parvati and Bhole Baba and Shivaji. So Bhagavatam speaks in the fourth canto, it speaks about the Daksha sacrifice, but that's an external reason. The internal reason for she giving up her life is there was Vaishnava Aparad and she doubted the glories of Maryada Purushottam Sri Ramachandra. So, Shri Bhole Baba ki jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. I did not plan to speak. I wanted to speak from the Krishna book, but somehow we were inspired to speak that. So we have about 4 minutes. Let us try to read whatever we can in the meantime. Although Krishna was bound up to the wooden motor, he began to proceed towards the twin trees in order to fulfill the prophecy of his great devotee Narada. Lord Krishna knew that Narada was his great devotee and that the trees standing before him as twin Arjuna trees were actually the sons of Kuvera. I must now fulfill the words of my great devotee Narada, he thought. Then he proceeded through the passage between the two trees. Although he was able to pass through the passage, the large wooden mortar stuck horizontally between the trees. Taking advantage of this with great strength, Lord Krishna began to pull the rope which was tied to the mortar. As soon as he pulled, the two trees with all their branches and limbs fell down with great sound. Out of the broken fallen trees came two great personalities, shining like blazing fire. All sides became illuminated and beautiful by their presence. The two purified personalities immediately came before child Krishna and bowed down to offer their respects and prayers in the following words. Dear Lord Krishna, you are the original personality of Godhead, master of all mystic powers. Learned Brahmanas know very well that this cosmic manifestation is an expansion of your potencies, which are sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest. You are the original provider of the life, body, and senses of all living entities. You are the eternal God, Lord Vishnu, who is all pervading, the imperishable controller of everything, and you are eternal time. You are the original source of the cosmic manifestation, which is acting under the spell of the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. You are living as the super soul in all the multi-forms of living entities, and you know very well that what is going on within their bodies and minds. Therefore, you are the supreme director of all activities of all living entities. But although you are in the midst of everything which is under the spell of material modes of nature, you are not affected by such contaminated qualities. No one under the jurisdiction of the material modes can understand your transcendental qualities, which existed before the creation. Therefore, you are called supreme transcendence. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of you, Lord Vasudeva, the supreme Brahman, who are always glorified by your personal internal potencies. We will stop here. It's about 10 o'clock, but we will continue. And there is some nice commentaries that we find in this section by Sripad Harisuri as to like in line with the Damodar Leela and the delivering of the two trees. So we will see that tomorrow. And we will not take questions because it is already 10 o'clock here. We started 30 minutes late, but we will again meet tomorrow. For those devotees who are celebrating Shiva Ratri here in America, my best wishes if you're planning to do Jagran or if you're fasting. And for those devotees who did it in India yesterday, if you did Jagran and if you fasted, please bless all of us so that we also get the strength to do it in the same spirit. And if anyone is joining from Vrindavan, I think we are all on the same page. Vrindavan is also celebrating it today. That is the 19th of February. Once again, thank you all very much. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srimati Radharani ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande.